racism as tools against class, working people, and you alluded to that, the material incentive, the profit drive that, even created racism, from my understanding. But one of the tools that we have, and one of the problems that the left has, is not being able to defend affirmative action. Somehow I have to bring it up. Quotas are, being, thrown out from the left and the right. The left can't stand up for quotas because they can't see it as a tool to help working people, help further our class interests. You'd rather keep it in this psychological, realm where there's no right or wrong necessarily. But if you break it down to the material, profit incentive of continuing race, it's always going to be there. It's always going to be there as long as there's somebody to profit from it.
Here I think I agree in part and disagree in part. So let me start with the part that we may have a difference. The point was that racism, let's keep it to racism at the moment, is a tool against ordinary people, working people, white people. And as I said, the origins of the system of white supremacy are very much rooted in that divide and conquer strategy, and they still function that way. So you can see bosses, exacerbating white workers' fear of immigrants, for instance. They will take your job. That's all true enough. It's also true that white supremacy, at this point, has a kind of independent existence. It's in the culture, deeply woven into the fabric of the culture. And I don't think we can simply say that, white working class people are manipulated to believe this. This is now part of the structure of the society.
But they can keep part of us now, they can keep us all there.
I'm not arguing that divide and conquer strategy is not still deployed. But I think all of us who are white, no matter what social class or economic class we come from, also have to be accountable for the enduring nature of white supremacy. I don't think it's enough to just assign the blame and the accountability at the top. So on that we might have a slightly different take. On the idea of white people defending affirmative action, I agree completely with you, with one friendly amendment. We've never had quotas in the United States. The United States affirmative action programs from the beginning never put in numerical quotas. And I think not only should we defend affirmative action, we should defend quotas. And there's an obvious reason for that, because you can't trust white people. They say they're going to do something. White people are slippery. We're a slippery people. I don't know if it's genetic or what, cultural, whatever it is. But we're a very shifty people. Okay, so the point is, affirmative action without numerical guidelines often evaporates into good intention and no action. So I actually think we should argue for quotas. And this connects to another thing that I think is important to mention, that the role of white people in discussions on race, similar to the way in which the role of men in discussions of gender, is often to be the craziest person in the room. That's my job a lot, is to be the craziest person in the room. By that I mean, my job is to push the envelope as far as possible because of my privilege. If I stand up in a room and I say, we need not only affirmative action, we need quota-based affirmative action to make sure that racial justice is moved ahead. I can stand up and say that, and people might think I'm a little loony, whatever they might think, but I am not likely to suffer any direct consequences of that. For those of you who aren't white, if you stand up in a room and say that, what happens?
You're self-interested.
Self-interested, lazy, angry, all those things. So the job of us is to push that. Just like the job of men, when we're talking about gender, to state things as bluntly as we can, because when you push that perimeter out, you create space. And I think that's a lot of what people in positions of privilege have to do, is to say the things that for people in the more vulnerable position, it is often dangerous to say. It might be dangerous in terms of risking employment. It might literally be physically dangerous in some situations. And that's what I think we should do. So I agree that quotas are as necessary as ever. In fact, maybe even more necessary in some sense.